Hello guys, welcome to another video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to extend your AWS EC2 instance root volume. Okay, so let's say at the time you provision an application, you don't want to over provision, so you provision a certain number of, let's say 30 gigs of storage, root storage, and now your application runs for a while, and now your application requires more storage. All right, so you want to still retain that root volume, but this time you want to extend it maybe from 30 gig to maybe 100 gigs depending on your need. So in this video, I'm going to show you, walk you through steps on how to do that. So first of all, here I have, I'm logged into my AWS account. So I'll go over to EC2. And because it's a demo, I'm just going to create a new EC2 instance. But if you're doing this, I hope maybe you already have an EC2 instance. But if you want to follow along, you can as well create a new EC2 instance. Okay, so here I'm inside EC2 service. So I'm just going to go over to launch an instance, and I'm going to name my instance server 1. Okay, so next just going to stick with the default Amazon Linux AMI, and I'm going to choose an instance type T2 medium. And then if you're going to be logging in with like an SSH key pair, so you might want to select the key pair, but for me, I'm just going to use SSM. So I'll proceed without the key pair. And for security group, I'm just going to stick with the default security group, and that's it. So I'll click on launch instance, and there you go. So I just need to view all instances now. You'll see that right here I have server 1. Server 1 is still coming up, still pending. Okay, now we have server 1 running. So the next thing we need to do is to connect to it. So I'll just select it and connect. So depending on your use case, you might want to connect using EC2 instance connect, or connect with your SSH client, whatever. But for me, I'm just going to connect to this instance using session manager. Okay, so selecting session manager here, I'll click on connect. I'll open up a web page here with where I can run Linux command. Okay, so I'll just switch to a different user, which I'll switch to the default EC2 user. So I'll run sudo su EC2.
I found this on the web for SC2.
Okay, so I've just switched to the default EC2 user. So I'll change directly to the root directory. Okay, so now we have we've created our EC2 instance, and we have access. We've been able to SSH into the instance. So the next thing we need to do now is to modify the root volume. Okay, so before modifying the root volume, so we'll just check to know see that we have a given number of storage inside the instance. Okay, so to do that, we just need to run a command, sudo lsblk. Okay, running this command, you see that our instance has total of 8 gig of storage, root storage, and you can see that the root storage is currently mounted here. You can see the XDVA1 has 8 gigs, and that's the entire storage for XDVA. Okay, so let's go back to the instance, and now let's increase. Let's say our application needs more storage and we want to give it more storage, right? So I'll just select this. I'll open up storage here, and I'll scroll down. You see that we have, sorry, I'll select storage, and I'll scroll down. You see that we have one storage attached. So click on it. This will take us to the volume, and now we select the volume, and we click on actions, and we click on modify volume. All right, so now we can increase our storage to, like, maybe let's say we need 30 gigs of storage. Now the next thing, we put in the number of storage we want, and then we click on modify. Okay, so we'll click modify. So you see we've just increased the number of storage to 30 gig. That's going to take some time. Okay, so it's currently modifying. So one thing to note, if you're doing this on production, it's important you take a snapshot before doing this, just in case anything goes wrong. Preventive measures, just take a snapshot of your volume. So you want to select this, and you want to go to actions, and you want to create a snapshot. So in case anything goes wrong, you can restore using that snapshot. Okay, so our volume is still coming up here and it's still going to take some time. Okay, so as you can see now, our volume is up. We have the 30 gigabytes of storage. So next thing we need to do now is we need to go into the instance and run the lsblk command again. Okay, so now we see that we have the 30 gigabytes of storage, but the partition, the first partition here, which is the root partition here, still has 8 gig. All right, so you see we need to do something, run extra commands to make the file system and the partition know that, okay, we need to grow this partition to take up the entire 30 gig. Okay, so for us to do that, first of all, we need to, because we're doing this on EC2, we need to determine what kind of hypervisor, or like check what kind of hypervisor our instance is using, if it's the Zen or if it's Nitro. Okay, so just as a follow-up, there is AWS provides a document that states all these steps. So I'll attach the document. This is the document. I'll attach this to the video description. Okay, so I would go over to my AWS console and I would open up Cloud Shell because I want to check the hypervisor type my instance uses, right? So that's why I'm opening Cloud Shell, so I can run AWS command like AWS describe EC2 instance command. Okay, so that's open. So I'm just going to paste the command and replace it with my instance type. Okay, so I just pasted the command and now I'm just going to replace the instance type there with my instance type. So my instance type is T2 medium. Okay, so to see that, we can just bring this down a bit and go over to, okay, so we can just bring this down, go over to instances, and this is my instance. So you can see that instance type is T2 medium. So I just want to copy this. Okay, so I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to paste it. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so you see that we're using Zen. The instance, the hypervisor is Zen. So depending on yours, if it's Nitro, the command might be different a bit. So you want to look into the document I'm going to attach to this video. But for mine, this is Zen. So I believe every T2 medium instance uses the Zen hypervisor type. Okay, so next, now we know we know that we're running on Zen. So the next command we need to do is we need to run a command to grow that partition. That is, grow the this partition, the XDA1. So depending on your instance, if you don't have partitions, if your root volume is not partitioned, you might not have to run this command. But in this case, we have the XVDA has a partition here, so we want to run a command to grow this exact partition. Okay, so I'm just going to paste in. So you see that we have sudo grow parts device, which is dev/xvda, and we're specifying the partition, which is the first partition, and that partition is the partition mounted to the root. Okay, so we want to just hit enter. Okay, so we've just increased the partition. If we run lsblk again, you see that now our partition, which is the xvda1, is now taking up all the 30 gigabytes of storage attached to the EBS volume. Okay, so the next thing we need to do now is modify our file system. We do run this command to view our file system. We see that the XVDA1 still has the file system size is still 8.0 gigabytes. All right, and we can confirm that it's actually mounted on the root pad. The next is for us to increase the size of the file system. Okay, so that's why we ran the df-ht command, and also this command shows us the file system type, which in this case the dev xvda1, which is where our partition is is currently XFS file system type, and currently the file system is recognizing 8 gigabytes of storage, so we need to increase that. All right, to increase that, we need to run the next command, and this command depends on your file system type. So if your file system type is ext4, you need to run a different command. So if your file system type is ext4, you need to run this command. All right, so if you spin up mostly an Ubuntu VM, you might see that your file system is ext4, so you need to run this command. But in our own case, our file system type is xfs. All right, so we need to run the command required for xfs, which is the sudo xfs grow fx -d, and we'll specify the mount here, which is the root mount point. All right, so we hit enter. Okay, so we just need to there was a typo there, sudo s. Okay, so once we do that, now we run the ht command again. We see that now our file system, which is xvda1 xfs, now is taking up the entire 30 gigabytes of storage. All right, so that's it. So any application running on this VM would be able to access that 30 extra storage size, and that's it.